What's up, guys? Let's talk swim bait fishing. Swim baits are one of those baits that you can fish all year long. You can catch them in the wintertime when it's 10 degrees outside, or you can catch them in the summertime when it's 100 degrees outside. That's why I like to throw them. I always got one tied on. Today we want to talk about how I rig these in the summer. The lake here I fish is Lake Chickamauga. So usually you're fishing grass or ledges. So I'll show you the two rigs I use when fishing each and how I fish them. All right, the first technique we'll talk about is ledge fishing. When ledge fishing, I'll use just a standard swim bait head, like this right here. And I'll rig this through the nose and out the top. How I figure out where I need to bring this out at, measure it out, is I'll set the nose up to the bait and kind of see where the hook lines up. And then I'll put my fingers there. And then I'll stick the hook through the nose and run it all the way through the bait and bring it out about where my fingers are at. That kind of gets you a little cheat code to get it lined up real well. That's one of the most aggravating things, I think, is trying to get some of these jig heads to line up straight. So you want to line this up and fish it where the tail is pointed downward. You don't want it reversed. It makes the swim bait swim a little crazy. It doesn't look good and just not very effective. The way I found to fish these on ledges is to throw it out and let it hit the bottom. Let this head just bounce across the bottom. You're going to slow roll this and just let it bounce and hit everything. This little tail is going to be kicking here in the back, making some commotion. The head is going to make commotion on the bottom and get those bass attention. You want to use a head that's heavy enough to constantly have bottom contact, and it's not slowly rising up when you're reeling it in. If you're bringing the bait off the bottom and just swim it through the water column, it's not as effective as if you're bouncing on the bottom. These bass like to feed on the bottom, so they see these things bouncing, and it really triggers that bite. One thing I will do occasionally as I'm bouncing this across, I may give my rod a big pull and let it shoot up real fast and let it come back down and do it again. That's not to swim it in the water column. That's just to get, if something's looking at it and it darts, that could draw in that strike, get that bass to commit that's maybe been trailing it, checking it out but won't commit. Maybe that quick little jerk will trigger that bite. That's basically how I fish these on the ledges, channel swings, anything like that. Anywhere there's no structure, like brush piles or grass or anything like that to get caught up in. Now let's talk about my favorite part. I love fishing these around grass. It's a very deadly technique. You catch a lot of fish, catch a lot of big fish. How I rigged this is with a belly weighted EWG hook. I'll just take this screw lock, put it in the nose and try to get in there as straight as I can get it and just twist it until you get that nose up to the eye of the hook. And then you just want to bring the hook over, see where it lines up, put your fingers there, then come in from the bottom out to the top. Even though most swim baits have a groove to keep the grass off, I always push the bait up a little bit and tuck that hook in, because I throw this in the most nasty stuff I can find, the thickest grass. So I want to be able to fish this efficient without the grass keep fouling up the hook. How I fish these, I use the lightest weight I can get away with. I want something that gets down in the grass but doesn't get hung up in the grass. You want something that just ticks the top of it and occasionally maybe get in a little bigger clump and get hung up a little bit and give it a big pull. And that pull makes that bait dart out and can really trigger some bites. If you're fishing deeper grass, obviously you want a little heavier hook, but you still want something that doesn't bury you in the grass. You want to continue making contact with the grass, but not getting hung up in the grass. These are great around docks Um, throwing on dock edges, around dock poles. I love throwing it in scattered grass when you maybe have a mat over here and a mat over there, and there's a lot of open water in between. It's great. When the grass is almost topped out, you still have that foot or so of water above the grass. These are very effective using a real light head, a real light weight, and just throw across the top of it and swim it across the top of that. Almost like a topwater lure. The rod setup I use is a 7'3" medium heavy. I use the same rod if I'm fishing ledges or grass. The only difference is in the grass, I will switch to a braid, a 50-pound braid. And on ledges, I'll use 20-pound fluorocarbon, sometimes 15, just depending on how deep I'm fishing. It's effective all year round. You can always catch a fish on a swim bait, but there's nothing like swim bait fishing in the grass. You can get some really big bites, get your kicker fish for a tournament. It's just a great all-around bait. Catches big fish, catches small fish. You can catch numbers. It's just a good bait. The brands I use a lot of different brands. I use the 6 Cent Swell. I'll use the Big Bites swim bait. I'll use the Zoom swim bait. Kayak's a great brand. They're all pretty good. They all have a little bit of different action to them.
There he is. Missed him the first time. Another one on the 6 Cent Swell. Looks like this was the bait today. Just running it through this grass. Nothing special, just put on a little 3/8 belly weight. Little 7/0 3/8 ounce belly weight with 60-pound braid. Seems to be the one that done the trick today. Better one, I guess. That was probably the worst landing ever. Like I said, this well, they're definitely locking it. Little 4.5, I think it's 4.5 inches. Not sure the color, kind of a clear bone looking color.
I appreciate you watching. Like I said, if you're fishing open water, not much structure to get hung up on, just maybe rocks, stuff like that. I like this kind of head. It just gives you that open hook, easier hook set. The bass pretty much hook themselves. This is a great way to catch them on ledges, channel swings, off points, anywhere there's no structure, no grass to get hung up in. If you do fish around grass, do a belly weight hook with a screw lock. That screw lock keeps that nose intact. You don't get all fouled up when coming through the grass, because this will get buried a little bit. Like I said, you just want to give it some pulls and let it dart out and really get those strikes. I appreciate you watching. Please like, share, subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps my channel grow. Thanks a lot.